Hey Tom, glad y'all got to Ohio safely. Good to have you join us. Anybody else who's on there? Thank you for joining us or joining me. I say us. I don't have a mouse in my pocket, but I didn't have enough time to go to hair and makeup tonight, so this is what you get. And I did get a wardrobe change. I've been doing some painting, so I went and put on a nice T-shirt. But good to see you guys. We are continuing in the Sermon on the Mount. We have moved from chapter 5 and we will start chapter 6 tonight. We're going to look at chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. And so as we transition here, we're finished with the "you have heard that it was said" statements that Jesus made. And this section, I guess this first verse really kind of sets up the next 23, 24 verses. And so Jesus says in verse 1, "Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. For then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven." And so here he's going to talk about giving to the needy in the next 3 verses. And then he's going to talk about praying. He's going to talk about fasting. And then he's going to talk about giving again. So we want to look at this and understand that as Jesus talks about money, that is always a subject that I think maybe some pastors balk at a little bit, because when we talk about money, people tend to get up a little uptight. But as you'll see here, what Jesus talks about is expected. It's not optional. And so as we go into, before we go into verse 2, we're talking about giving to the needy. And I'll tell you, over the last several years, my convictions on this have really changed. And much of it is due to these few verses. In the past, I would say that I have balked at giving money to the needy. And when I say to the needy, I'm talking about the people that are begging for it. You know, the people on the side of the road, or I know a lot of, where we used to live up in Lake City. There's always somebody sitting at the interstate, and even in Gainesville, there's a lot of people that they just sit at the interstate where you have to sit and wait on the red light, and they're holding a sign, you know, and everybody tries to be cute with them now. But I would always balk at giving them money. And the reason why is because I didn't know what they were going to spend the money on. I had a good idea what they were going to spend the money on. But as I read these verses, my opinion on that has changed. And so, you know, I've always seen people who were in need, you know, a family that was in need, and said, yeah, absolutely, I'll help any way I can, whether that's financially or time or resources or whatever. But man, when somebody's just standing there asking for money, I had a really tough time giving them money. And so, but look at this, and this doesn't specify money, but in a way it does, and we're going to look at that. So verse 2 says, well, before we do that, if I want you to post, if you would, how do you feel about giving money to the needy? And when I say that, I'm talking about people who are begging for it. Like, what are your thoughts on how we as Christians should do that? And so I want to kind of see what you think, and maybe discuss one or two of those if anybody posts those. So I'm going to read verse 2, and then I'll check and see if there's any comments, since there's a little bit of lag here as far as when y'all see what I actually say. It's 5, 10, 15 seconds later. So I'll give you a minute to type anything. But listen, if you're not typing something, listen to verse 2. "Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. And so when I read this, the first thing that jumps out to me is sound no trumpet before you. That's not the first thing that should jump out at me, but that's the first thing that does jump out at me. The first thing that should jump out at me is Jesus says, when you give to the needy. And so he's not saying that it's an option to do so. He's saying, listen, you should be given to the needy. He's just going ahead and having the understanding that you're doing that. So I got one comment here. Kim Brown says, I tend to give to organizations. And that is, again, giving to the needy is what is requested here. So we definitely, and there are a lot of great organizations. We talked about one Wednesday night with Compassion International. If you didn't hear that or see that, I would encourage you to go check that out if you're interested in doing something like that and are looking for somewhere to give to the needy. But I think we all, then she says, unless it's for a sailor's birthday. Well, the Navy's an organization, I guess. And then we got another one that says, I usually carry food that I can give, and I can always buy food when I can pay for it. That's a great idea, too. And so, I know some people have made up little toiletry packs, like with little travel toothpaste and a toothbrush and maybe some soap and deodorant that they can hand out. Those things, when people are truly homeless, those things are beneficial. And so the thing is the tough thing for me is not judging them in what are they going to do with what I give them, what are they going to do with the money that I give them. And Miss D says, if someone asks, there's a need, it's not for me to decide what they do with it. And that's exactly where I've come to is, if somebody asks me and I have something to give, I should give it. It's not mine anyways. And so I heard a great illustration of that. So let's say that you've got kids and you buy them a video game or something, and they're sitting there playing the video game. You're like, man, that game looks kind of cool. Can I play it? And they're like, no, this is my game. I'm playing it. And you're like, whoa, hold on just a minute. I gave you that. Like, I bought that game with my money for you, and you're not going to let me play it. And so when we have an experience like that, that's kind of what we do with God. It's His. He gave it to us. He had it and gave it to us, and then we say, "No, God, we're not gonna give to you." And so that, I just thought it was a great illustration. Anyway, moving on. The trumpet. So it says, "Sound no trumpet before you." That always, I thought it was somebody like tooting their own horn or patting themselves on the back. And so I'm sitting here thinking, well, just don't toot your own horn. But as I researched this, the trumpet, the reason why they say sounding the trumpet is because the funnel, so let me back up just a minute. All the money in Jesus' time was coins. They had no paper money. So what they would do is they would line up, if you read in Mark 12 for the widow's offering, Jesus is standing at the treasury watching people give their money. And the widow brings her money and she puts all of her money in. That's not the point of this. But this line, what they would have is called a trumpet funnel, I guess. And it's shaped like a trumpet. So it's big at the top. It's wide open like a bowl. And then it funnels down into a tube. And then the end of that tube would go into the trunk that all the money went into. And so the reason why it was like that is so you couldn't reach your hand down in there and get the money out. But what happened was people had all these coins. And so they would make sure they got it all in pennies. And then they would pour their change or their coin into the offering jar. And so it would make a noise. And what would happen is you got it all in pennies so that you could continue pouring and just, you're pouring like you save all your change for 5 years and then you're pouring it in here. Well, it sounds like you gave tons of money. And so why did they do that? They did that so that people would hear and they would kind of turn and look and be like, wow, they're pouring a lot of money in there. And so when it says sound no trumpet, they called that sounding the trumpet when they poured their change in there. And so this says, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. So what are they seeking? They're seeking man's applause. They're seeking man's praise. He goes on to say, truly I say to you, they have received their reward. And so they're obviously seeking a reward from man, but what they don't understand is what Jesus is about to say next. Verse 3, but when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And so again, I've kind of always thought, well, that's kind of like, well, you got this person over here on your right, and then you've got this person over here on your left. And it was kind of an analogy, I guess. But then what I was thinking as I studied this today, and I've never read this anywhere or seen it, but what do you do with your right hand and your left hand when something good happens? You clap. And I'm thinking, okay, so your right hand and your left hand come together in applause for yourself. And so don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. Don't clap for yourself when you do this. Verse 4, so that your giving may be in secret. I love it in Scripture when there's a point. It's like, it's obvious. This is obvious. These things here, like do this way. And then Jesus says, so that your giving may be in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And so, as I've been thinking about this, what is our reward? Because a lot of people use passages like this to go the prosperity gospel route, that you give to God so that he's going to give you more money. That's just not in Scripture. And so, obviously, I know that's not it. But what is our reward? Is it here on earth? Is there some kind of reward that we get? Is it satisfaction from seeing a life changed? Is it peace? Is it, what is it? And so what I'd like you to do, if you're posting, what do you think our reward is? Is it on earth? Is it on heaven or in heaven? Is it both? And then specifically, what is it? Now, obviously, Jesus is our ultimate reward. That day when we come face to face with our Creator, and we can, what we've been trying to fill our lives with and trying to complete ourselves with is gone from this earth. And what the only true thing that can fill us is now right in front of us. The true face of God that we will see when we arrive at heaven. And so obviously that's our reward. But are there other rewards? Are there other things in Scripture that we see that we can be rewarded with? And so as we wrap this up, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some of y'all are posting something here. Miss Linda Thompson says our reward is in heaven, and that's just what I just was talking about, and it is, it is our ultimate reward is there. Is there something here? Is there something on earth? Because, and I want to be careful to say that our rewards here on earth are still temporary, whatever they may be. And as we kind of wrap up and we close here, even if we do get a reward here, even if you do get a piece of, you get a peaceful feeling about something, or if you get to see a child born, or if you get a great friendship, or if you get the privilege of leading somebody to Christ, or all of these things for us here on earth will still bring heartache at times. So you get to see and witness the miracle of the birth of a child if you're a parent, and yet sometimes those children bring you heartache, and sometimes it's small and sometimes it's really big. Even people you lead to Christ are still going to sin from time to time, and they're going to fall, and that may be painful for them and for you. And so it's not complete until it's in heaven. And I would say, Kim, you said both, and I do. I think it's both too. There are so many things that I think we get rewards here on earth. But I think a lot of times we aren't looking for them, and we can tend to miss them, and we can tend to not appreciate them. It's like the old song, "You don't know what you got till it's gone." The lyrics, it truly is that way. A lot of times we have these rewards, and so what I want to encourage you with, one, is seek your rewards here on earth, and not so that we can fill our lives with those rewards, but so that we can see how good God is, that we can in return thank Him and lift Him up in praise and glory to others in our life for those rewards. And then B is our ultimate reward is in heaven. And I think we've said that so much sometimes that we've cheapened it, or we allow it to become some normal thing. That's not just a regular everyday thing. I want to encourage you as we leave to meditate on that, our reward in heaven. It's God. It's the presence of Jesus that we will be with for all of eternity. What does that mean for us today, and what should we do in response to that as Christians? And so I want to leave you with that. Think about that over the weekend, and I will see you tomorrow night if you come to Saturday night service at 6 o'clock. If not, I'll see you Sunday morning at 10:30. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you're kind of getting some things to think about here. I really appreciate everybody being on here, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.